Hey guys, Principal Comic Book University and Secret Empire issue number 4. Guys, okay, so Frank Castle, he don't answer to nobody. He's in Baltimore. He's in a safe house. This is apparently the 4th safe house that the Kraken has gone to looking for the guy. And he finally finds him. He's like, hey man, what's going on? And Frank ain't messing around. He's let him know straight off the bat, in that not so subtle innuendo, I will shoot you in your freaking face. All right. You see that part of your jaw that's not lined? Yeah, I bet you if I shoot you there enough times, you'll die. So that's freaking Frank Castle for you right there. Anyway, and isn't that a good alliteration? Frickin' Frank. Anyway, so yeah, he says, I don't answer to you, but an image, a hologram of Steve Rogers shows up and says, help us, frickin' Frank. You're our only hope. And that's really basically what he says. He says, listen, buddy, this is what I need. And Frank right away turns around and snaps to attention. This right away, it doesn't even allude. It points the direct finger that Frank Castle doesn't answer to Hydra. He doesn't like the idea of Hydra. But why would he like the idea of S.H.I.E.L.D. either? That's the big thing. The people who are all, he would never join Hydra. Okay, well, would he join S.H.I.E.L.D.? Come on, man. How deep does your comics knowledge go besides just the Punisher comics? He wouldn't join either. He hates both of them. And he hates pretty much everything. But he does love Captain America. He looks up to him. So many different times we've seen. He looks up to him. He idolizes Cap. He wants to be Cap, basically. So he basically says, listen, I need you to help me out. I need you to look for the Black Widow. She could be anywhere. Legitimately, she could be anywhere. So we see that, he is definitely looking for the Black Widow. He's doing whatever kind of research skills he's got. He doesn't exactly have microchip with him, but he starts doing what he's got to do. In the meantime, Black Widow is torturing this one guy from Hydra. He's a young recruit, and he happens to know something about the grounds where the Capitol is at, where they're going to be setting up some kind of a big thing. I guess it's for back over in the uprising that they're doing, the Secret Empire uprising, where they showed that she's got the Red Room training going for the new version of the Champions. And it's kind of a messed up thing, but whatever. She's torturing this guy. And the Champions are like, no, let's not do it. And Riri Williams is saying, listen, I made an app that basically uses ultraviolet light, I should say, to try and make you forget short-term memories. She was doing it for something therapeutic. She's going to use it for this guy for, the sake of not having to be tortured anymore, so they don't have to kill him and let him go. Black Widow allows it to happen, and this guy's like, thank you so much. Like, oh, look, he's as young as us. He's not much older than us. Like, come on. You don't realize the influence that Hydra has over you. He reaches for a knife that he still had as a boot, and I have to wonder, did Black Widow leave it there on purpose just because she knew that these knuckleheads were going to come in and not believe her? I get it. They're kids. They're millennials. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, when push comes to shove, there's a reason why Black Widow does what she does. You know what I'm saying? And having regrets for some of the things that she did under the Red Room proper is one thing. But what she's doing now, she's trying to, as we say, erase some of that red in her ledger. So he goes after Riri, and Black Widow shoots the guy right in the chest, kills him. So she's like, great, now we have to find a new motel. Well, hopefully this gives a little bit of a lesson, and I really hope that this is something that sticks with the Champions. I don't want it to taint them. You know what I'm saying? I don't. I genuinely don't. But I really do want it to be something that affects them from this point on. That's the thing with these events. If these events don't mean anything, what's the purpose of having them? Oh, just to make money, right? That's not what we as the fans are looking for. I feel this should definitely affect those characters. Seriously, a lot. Greg Pak just announced recently, a little interlude, that his Generations, his legacy character crossover that he's going to be doing with Totally Awesome Hulk and Bruce Banner Hulk, which I'm assuming right now, and I'll give you more details on that in the Old Man Logan issue number 25 review that I'm about to do. But yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be the Maestro version of Banner. That's just me. I could be wrong. I don't have a problem if I'm wrong. But yeah, I think that would actually be very cool if that's where the legacy character comes from that he's going to be meeting. But he does say this is going to have a permanent impact on Pac. It's not, or on Pac. Pac says it's going to have a permanent impact on Amadeus, and I love that. And that's what all of these crossover especially an event as huge as this, it should have long-lasting effects. I want to see this effect frickin' Frank. I want this to affect Deadpool. I want this to affect a lot of things. When Coulson finally comes back, he better come back. I want this to affect him. Guys, sorry, back to the thing. We see that also when Black Widow moves, she moves her location to Baltimore. So she is really right under Frank Castle's nose. So how sexy is that? All right. So now we go on to Alaska. Now, this is the really main part of the story here. We get to see that Alaska has become the Ultron territories. Right before the Planetary Defense Shield went up, the PDS. Anyway, she, what do you call it? I guess that Alpha Flight, a.k.a. the former Sword, isn't really doing their job anymore because they allowed for Ultron, Hank Pym, and his armies to come down. I mean, like, they're invading all of space and whatnot. We just saw that in Deadpool issue number 30. He's all over the place. They are all over the place. And they were able to get past Earth's defenses to get right onto Earth proper, right before the shield went up. Guys, I hate to say this, but, you know, this really doesn't bode well for Captain Carol Danvers, or Colonel Carol Danvers. I think she needs a demotion. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you allow Ultron, of all things, to come down? Just, hello. Anyway, so, yeah, he comes down and he's basically set up a version of Avengers Mansion. We got to see it a little bit in Secret Empire issue number 3. Well, now, with his robotic Jarvis, now the Avengers, Hydra Avengers and the Avengers Underground come in to try and get this portion of the Cosmic Cube that he's got. And all sorts of crazy things happen. It's supposed to be a stealth mission on both ends, but they wind up being infiltrated by the Hydra Avengers, and they really get taken down, and they get taken down hard. They're not about to win this. They're not. Also, it's very interesting to see that Scarlet Witch was actually taken over by Chthon. Now, that's interesting. Guys, if anybody, I'm asking for help on this one. If anybody knows where this happened, I'm interested in knowing when and where this happened, because I didn't see this anyplace. Tony Stark apparently already knew that she was taken over by the demon, but yeah, I'm curious, what comic book and issue did this happen? Anyway, so badang, we get to see, it's probably an Uncanny Avengers. Anyway, before I started reading that again, before I picked it up again. So basically, these guys are going back and forth. They're caught by Pym Ultron, and they're stuck at this table. And Ultron is basically chastising them both, but he's trying to, he's got like this silly little kiss the chef thing on. This kind of reminds me of The Stand. You remember Stephen King's The Stand? They did the made-for-TV 4-episode miniseries on made-for-television. They had Randall Flagg as some kind of a tough guy and scary guy at first, and then you come to find out that he's really just a joker. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not as intimidating as he'd like people to think that he is. And this is kind of what we're doing here with Ultron. The trick is, he actually is that powerful. Think of a giant-sized Ultron. He can go giant or miniature anytime that he wants. That's scary dangerous. That's scary dangerous. So basically, yeah. All sorts of things happen. Of course, drunk Tony AI, he starts going into a rant about how everybody was always uncomfortable around him, around Pym, and like, it really went deep. It started to get bone deep, scraping up against marrow. Like, it was that bad. And finally, he can't take it anymore once he mentions Jan. And he says, you know what? It's so funny. Like, I invented AI. I took AI to the next level, and nobody has brought AI to the level that I have. I invented Pym particles, for crying out loud. Like, all the things that he's done, and he has. He really has. He's invented so many things. There's a reason why he's considered the scientist supreme. I don't know if anybody remembers that storyline, but yeah, he is considered the scientist supreme. Not even Reed Richards was considered that. And this is by eternity, mind you. You got the Sorcerer Supreme. You got the Reed Richards, the Explorer Supreme. I think that Tony Stark was the Inventor Supreme. But no, the Scientist Supreme is actually Pym. So yeah, Pym deserves that credit. He genuinely does. So anyway, push comes to shove, and he gets pissed off, and he just, he grabs him, he turns into Giant Ultron, and he's just like, meanwhile, what have you done? Your ego has brought us into 2 civil wars amongst the superheroes, and he just goes on, he starts ragging him, and he could have gone on a whole lot longer than that. Every single thing, for the most part, that think about the Armor Wars, right? Both of them, for crying out loud. Tony Stark is the biggest jackass on the good guy's side. I'm making air quotes now, but whatever, man. Like, that's so go figure that Tony of all people wants to talk, but he is drunk. He's technically drunk. He's technologically drunk. So when it all comes down to it, it's actually Scott Lang who de-escalates the entire situation. And that is gorgeous, man. He's like, I've always looked up to you. I still look up to you. He's like, mostly I look up to Casey, his daughter for the most part. But yeah, Stature, I believe her name is, the superhero version. But he says, I always looked up to you. He's like, because I made a mistake too, and I went to jail for it. You made a mistake, but you didn't let it define you. And yes, that's exactly who Hank Pym is. Personally, I happen to be a really big fan of Hank Pym. So I was really happy to hear Scott Lang, of all people, saying this. Who else would, But yeah, he defended him, and for his reward, he, and therefore his team, the Avengers Underground, were given the 1/8 portion of the Cosmic Cube fragment. So, bada boom. So they get out of there, and Steve is a little bit pissed off, and he's talking to him, and he's like, well, you do keep on calling me Ultron. He's like, now, I'm not that petty, but I do want you to think about that, man. Like, you basically saying, you come into my home, and you start telling me what to do. Saying you start making accusations or whatever. You start being presumptuous instead of actually listening to me. So, yeah, there's that. Go figure. Even with Tony Stark on that side, I guess that the Hydra Avengers never even needed to show up, when push comes to shove. But regardless, the Avengers Underground go into a deep state of depression because all of that just for a tie. Why is it a tie? Well, because Namor surfaces. And after the destruction of their most sacred holy temple, he says, enough is enough. I can't beat Hydra, Captain America. So here is this 1/8 portion of the fragment. Now, I assume that Nemo gave the one portion that he'd found back in the very end of Thunderbolts. I think that was issue number 11 was the final issue. So if that's the case, that means that we got 2 for Cap's side and 1 for Underground side. There may be more. I don't actually know. I actually just started keeping count with this particular issue. I'll probably go back and check. And if you guys know anything, by all means, comments below. Anyway, this is one hell of an issue, guys. I don't even know what else to say about this. This issue absolutely gets an A. This was just... oh man, I love the storyline. I love the series. I love the event. I love all of the crossovers. I think Brave New World issue number 1, I gave it my lowest grade yet, and still that was a B. Like, I'm very biased towards this. This is amazing stuff, guys. Absolutely amazing stuff. Anyway, this is a really, really long review, and sorry about that. Kind of. Sorry, hashtag not sorry. But anyway, all right, guys. Professor Bill, Comic Book University, class dismissed.